Hey everyone, this is Richard Kerr from Never Been Told. Welcome to the show. This is going to be a show about builders, people who do great things, and people who actually contribute to the society, and many more stories coming from Southeast Asia. So today we have a special guest, and we have Blaine Robert today to be part of this first episode of Never Been Told. Hey Blaine, welcome to the
Hi.
show.
Well, thank you so much. Wow, never been told with Blaine Robert. Lots to be told.
Lots of details. I'm sure there's a lot of stories that we can talk about. So Blaine, I know that you're very well known in the design space, but for those people who actually do not know you, how would you introduce yourself?
Oh, how would I introduce myself? Basically, I've got a motto. And my motto is tummy in, boobs out, and big smile. You
Wow.
know, that's the best motto for just living your life.
Yeah.
You know, giving out the goodness is a fundamental principle of life. Giving out goodness and joy, you get it back. Giving out crap and all of that, you get it back. So how would I introduce myself? That's how I would introduce myself. People think of me as somebody who's just positive, motivated, enthusiastic,
Yep.
and ready to take on a challenge and ready to take on life. But at the end of the day, I'm just like everybody else. I'm not perfect. I've got flaws. I've got difficulties. You know, I've got the same things that other people worry about. But I just try to put it aside and get on with making life happen.
Yeah, I think that's one of the fundamental things that people need to think about, because I think we live in a world where negativity is all around us, right? So I guess then how do you radiate that positivity to people around you?
That's interesting that you said about the negativity issue, because I have a feeling about that too. I think everybody would probably agree with me.
Yeah.
It's so much easier in life to be miserable and unhappy.
Yeah.
It takes absolutely no effort at all just to be bitchy and unhappy and complain. But to be happy, and that's a very subjective word, but to be the opposite of unhappy and bitchy, you've got to make an effort. You've got to make an effort.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and that effort doesn't need to be huge strides and huge goals. It can be just little tiny things that you do every day
Yep.
that add a little bit of joy or a little bit of happiness. If you do that every day, you'd be surprised over the long term how much it just collects and collects and collects into a bigger thing, and you just realize, wow, things aren't necessarily as bad as they used to be or I thought they were. So that's pretty much how I do it.
So it's like a compounding effect, is that right? You just do bit by bit every day, and then it will add up eventually.
It will, but again, also, oh boy, also what's really important is making sure the people in your life.
Yeah.
I think everybody would agree with that. You've got to surround yourself with people that bring love and joy into your life. You've got to.
Yeah.
At my age, it's a lot easier to do that because I've been around and I can sniff
sniff
it
around,
out.
yeah.
But even occasionally, even at my age, there are times when something negative or something that's not in my best interest sneaks into my environment.
Yeah.
But you've got to put up a wall. And not a wall of negativity or a wall of arrogance, but just a wall that doesn't allow people to come into your life.
Basically just setting boundaries, right?
Exactly.
Setting boundaries.
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, we live in a world that we're going to have all sorts of people, which we cannot change.
True.
But the only thing that we can change is how we interact with the people and people who come into our lives.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's a good introduction, Blaine. Maybe you want to talk a bit on how everything started, because today you actually run a design firm. Do you want to talk a bit about Blaine Robert Design?
Blaine Robert Design. We are about 12 years old now. We started with only 4 people. Oh, I remember those days. 4 people and a cash flow that was pretty much non-existent. And we've grown ourselves now into, I don't want to say a large company, but we've grown into a medium-sized company with about 50, more than 50 well, as I call them, 50 kids.
50 kids.
You know, they're not staff, they're not crew, they're not underlings. What they are my kids.
Yeah.
You know,
You nurture them, you
Yeah.
train them.
yeah.
Right.
And what's really important, I think, with them is when you hire that many people,
Mm-hmm.
everybody has their responsibility and accountability,
Yeah.
whether it be the QS division on costing or the design division on ideas
Mm-hmm.
or the idea division on coming up with concepts or the technical division
Yeah.
on how to translate a 3D rendering into
Mm-hmm.
something that's fabulous, or the project management team, which is absolutely essential to any
Yeah.
any project.
Any projects.
I cannot do their job. I cannot do it. And I'm the CEO and the creative director.
Yeah.
It's not my job to do it. It's their job to do it. That's why I've hired them.
Yes.
But it's my job to inspire them, to encourage them,
Yeah.
to do whatever they need to do in order to be better. Better at their job, but me personally, be better with their lives. Because, come on, they're not going to be with me for 6 years or 7 years.
That's the reality. That's the reality.
Yeah, you're right. They're not going to be with me forever, so they're going to move on. So if they do move on, I want them to move on adding value to somebody else's
Yeah.
life. And I want to be a part of that.
I guess that's something that we briefly mentioned about, right? Making those small changes and eventually bring impact to other people's lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. So we're just gonna rewind a little bit. Maybe some of the early days of Blaine Robert. I'm sure there's a lot of struggles in the beginning. Maybe there's one part of the journey that most people don't know, but deeply shape of who you are today. Yeah.
Yeah, the journey. You know, the journey goes so quickly. It goes so fast. You know, Monday to Friday goes so slow, but the months and the years pass so quickly. Can I look back on a particular time and say, where was the struggle? I can say the struggle was the first 3 years or the first 4 years of not knowing whether we had the necessary skill, not knowing whether we had the necessary motivation and enthusiasm to keep it going when it got really tough.
Yeah.
That was probably the hardest. The projects themselves and the clients have never been the hard part. I started my career here in Malaysia when I was a bit older.
Yeah.
So I don't want this to sound arrogant because it's not arrogant at all, but I pick and choose my clients pretty carefully. And when I say that, I give them the respect to pick and choose me very carefully as well.
Okay.
When
So it
you
goes both ways.
Oh, absolutely
Right,
it
right.
does. And I think almost in any industry it has to.
Yes.
Yeah. But when you first meet them, in that very first meeting, I don't really want to talk about budget. I don't want to issue them an invoice for anything. I just want to sit for an hour,
Yeah.
talk about their project, see how excited they can get about it, see how motivated, enthusiastic they are about it, and see whether we vibe.
I like that. I think the vibe is actually everything.
Oh.
To me, it's everything.
100%.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes a little can squeeze through the vibe as
that's
well. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
But it's really important.
Maybe you can share with us, maybe at the first 3 years, maybe there's one particular event that you felt that everything's going to fall apart.
Okay. Well, like I said, it was the struggle. You know, whenever you start a business, you always start the business with the greatest intentions and everything's going to be perfect. And that's when you forget that this is real life and nothing is perfect. Everything is a disaster. As a matter of fact, most things are a disaster. So it was cash flow. That's what it was.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, we need to hire more people. We need to get new equipment. We need to install the latest softwares. We need to upgrade the V-Rays.
Yeah.
You know, we need to incorporate a new software, not thinking of what the implications
Yeah.
were to those decisions. You know, so
It's just you have to do it at that point in time, right? You just have to do it.
But my feeling is I don't think we had to do it. I think we could have gone a little bit slower
Okay.
and not have invested so much right in the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, it would have probably made things a little less stressful. That was probably the biggest issue or the biggest problem. Plus, no matter what you do, you always want to do your best for your
Yeah,
client.
of course.
You just want it to be the best. But when you do interior design or when you do project management or when you do interior fit out, it's like a puzzle of 1,000 or 10,000 pieces. And every one of those little pieces have got to be pounded into place to fit.
Yep.
So you need to work with a professional to do
Yeah.
that. And I tell you, they don't always fit. And so you've really got to be smart. You've really got to be imaginative on how to make things work. But always keep in mind, never try to pull the eyes or the over your client.
Yeah. I
You
think
know?
that's, being ethical, I think that's very important.
100%.
Yes.
If in my industry, people come to us and pay us based on a picture we make, that's a big commitment.
Yep.
You know, so we have to make sure that when it's completed, that picture actually comes to reality, because that's the only way you can keep your credibility and your reputation
Yeah.
is by giving the client what you promised.
The promise and assurance.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how many people are involved to doing even a small 1,000 square foot condo, from aircon people to joinery to wet works to tilers to M&E to, there's just so many people and they've all got to work together. Yeah.
It's just like building a huge jigsaw puzzle
Yeah.
and make sure that you have everything,
Yep.
right? To make
Yeah.
sure that you have the whole picture. And of course, for this kind of work, it's to make sure that the project is delivered well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on time.
On time.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
Yes, indeed.
So maybe, but based on what you just mentioned, there must be a time that you probably felt like you wanted to give up. And what actually made you, wanted to continue going?
It was probably about the second year or the third year. Things were tough. And I decided to go to Singapore because I had lived in Singapore previously before coming to Malaysia.
How long ago was that?
Okay, I've been in Malaysia now for well over 20 years.
Okay.
Then I was in Singapore from 1998 to 2001.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's funny because when I was living in Singapore, I was coming to Malaysia a lot to work. But I just remember I went back to Singapore for a holiday and I was offered something. And it was almost too good to be true.
Oh,
and
really?
I almost couldn't say no. And I really had to make that decision. Do I give up on something that I believe in
Yep.
for something that I know is going to be easier? Or am I going to continue to struggle to make it work? Because if I do decide to make it struggle to make it work, I got to make it work. I've
Yeah.
got to make it work.
You have to.
And you know what? I made it work, baby.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm proud. It's not perfect, but I'm proud.
Yeah, I think in any business, I feel it's extremely important to be able to deliver the good work for the clients. Even for the things that we do today in my company, we always have to make sure that we always deliver everything on time and everything. Because as you said, this is reputation. You basically, clients pay you probably not too much about the actual work itself, but the whole package, right?
Yes.
Because that's the reason why clients go to you. It's actually to help solve their problem, right? And of course, in the line of work that you do, it is really about solving problems as well. Because I think in your industry, there's a lot of mistrust,
Yes.
right? Do you want to probably talk a bit on
Well,
that?
my gosh, here in Malaysia, you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself and kind of get away with it.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of interior design firms that are nothing but roadside,
Yep.
you know, roadside people who are able to advertise in a high-level interior design or conceptual magazine as one of the best. You know, there's not a lot of regulation.
Yep.
That's also been a little bit difficult for me. Blaine Robert Design is being criticized a little bit about things like that.
Okay.
You know, we work really hard to do the right thing. One of the criticisms that we were given was that we would give design for free.
Okay. Wow.
I can't even imagine that anybody would even say that. And I don't know why they would say that. But I've learned that people say all sorts of things in life for many different reasons. But interior designers or fit out people have been to university. We've got a skill. We've got a skill like a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or a CPA.
Yep.
It's a chargeable skill. And we should never, under any circumstances, do design free of charge.
Yeah, totally agree.
So a lot of people would say, well, what about working with a developer to do a tender or to do a pitch?
Yeah.
Back in those days, those first 3 years, boy, we would do anything, but I still wouldn't do free design.
Right.
I wouldn't do it. But we would pitch. Now, we don't even pitch anymore. When someone comes to us and says, you know, we want you and 5 other interior design firms to do all of the design and then we'll pick and choose. No, not anymore. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You know, you basically want us to do your job for you. You know, come up with the design because you don't have an idea or you don't have a clue. You know, come up with the branding of it. You don't have a clue about what you want to do. No, you pay us to do it because we're professionals.
Yes.
We'll do it for you. You know, and then when it comes to tender, sometimes you're in a position where, hey, you're going to have to do it. But just like I said with clients, building the vibe, even for tendering, I know who I want to tender for and who I don't want to tender for.
So just like what you said just now, you're very selective now.
Yeah, without being arrogant in
of course.
any way.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's actually quite important. So, did you ever feel that probably in the beginning that you're never going to be in the field of creative?
You mean when I started?
When you started, yes.
When you've got the passion to do something like I've done, I know it's going to be something that'll be a part of my life forever.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a child, my parents would go away on holiday, and I would be lucky enough to be able to go, but only for 2 weeks. But they would go for 2 months.
And this was in Canada.
This was in Canada.
Right.
And then my dad would give me his credit card.
Wow.
Well, you know, you need an emergency credit card just in case.
Yep.
But they didn't tell me that redoing the kitchen wasn't an emergency. So I would redo things when they would go away. So I've been doing this ever since I was a child. I went to school to do this. I'm almost 60. Don't tell anybody. I'm almost 60 and I'm still doing what I love. Like, wow. I'm one of the lucky ones, I think. Not that life is perfect. It's not.
It's not good. It's never going to be perfect.
No, but I'm doing what I set out to do with a lot of obstacles along the way.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a little kid, a boy doing interior design wasn't exactly looked upon as what should be done. But hey, I did what I wanted to do.
Yep.
You
When was that? I mean, when was at what age you actually started to do interior design?
Like professionally, it would be after college.
After college.
But before then, I was redesigning things in my parents' house, redesigning things for my parents' friends, you know, choosing and making decisions about everything from furniture to fashion to hairstyles to makeup with my friends, you know. So I've always been in the industry where I felt glamour is important.
Okay. So what sparked that in the beginning?
What sparked that?
Is it just out of the blues, just one day, or it's just one of your interests as a kid?
Yeah, I'd say I've always been like that. I left my older brother to be the captain of the football team and
Okay.
the captain of the basketball team and the straight A's in school. And, everybody, oh, why don't you live up or be like your brother? I didn't care.
Yeah. Just
Let
do
him
you.
do what he wants to
Yeah.
be. I just want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And luckily, eventually, I had parents who were just like, hey, he's going to do what he wants to do. So I think it's better we just support him and let him do what he wants to do.
Oh, that's amazing. I think those are some of the struggles for Asian parents.
Got that right.
Right. But I think it's changing now. Because
Yes.
I think parents nowadays, they're more receptive of what the kids want and what the kids want to do in life. So that's good. At least there's some changes that are happening at least on this part of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we're gonna talk more a bit of your struggles, right? I think in anything in life there will be challenges, there will be struggles. Maybe that's something that the struggles that you've been going through, but no one sees it from the outside. Is that
I'm
something?
fat. I'm fat. No, I gave up smoking and I got fat. That's my biggest struggle in life
tell
right
me
now.
about that story about how you quit smoking.
Yeah. I was just meeting some friends at KLCC and we ordered food and I said to my friends, I'm going to go outside and have a cigarette. I went outside, put my cigarette out, and I just passed out and fell flat on my face on the concrete and was in the hospital and had a lot of plastic surgery done. Thank you very much, insurance company, to get that all done. But I was in the hospital for 3 days and I just thought, enough. Well, not enough. I thought, I don't want to go downstairs in this outfit to go into the car park and have a cigarette. So I just stopped smoking. But before I stopped smoking, it was one of my biggest fears. Oh, I want to talk about that. It was one of my biggest fears. If I'm in a stressful situation at work or a stressful situation and I can't go out and have a cigarette, what am I going to do? I can't live like that. That's what I learned from this experience of quitting smoking. I just gave up, just like that.
Just like that.
And I never thought about it again. I never felt like I want to have another cigarette. So I just think, wow, how strong and powerful is my brain to be able to smoke for 30 years and be so afraid to quit, but then just quit and be, hey, that's done.
Just like there's a switch button inside your brain, on and off.
Yeah. Well, if I fell down and my brain hit something that turned off the smoking switch, it was perfect. I loved it.
So do you think that's a blessing in disguise?
100%.
Okay.
Well, who wouldn't agree that quitting smoking isn't a blessing in disguise? Or you mean the accident? Oh, I could have avoided that, thank you very much. But I'd still be smoking.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the quality of my skin improved within 24 hours of quitting smoking.
That fast?
Yeah, 24 hours, I noticed that the puffiness had sort of gone away. Yeah, so why didn't somebody tell me to quit smoking
earlier? I guess we want to talk about that smoking part. Is actually quite interesting because I know a lot of people struggles to stop smoking as well. Maybe there's one word or there's some advice that you want to tell people who wants to quit smoking maybe?
To quit smoking or related to that?
Yeah.
The biggest regret that you will ever have in your life will be whatever it is that you don't have the courage to try. That's what it is. If you don't want to do it, just do it. Because all you have to do is do it once or do it twice, and then you're never afraid to do it ever again.
Yeah.
Just like this podcast, a lot of people would be like, oh, okay, we're going to go do a podcast. So I've got to, and they'd be thinking and thinking and thinking for days and days. I don't.
Same.
Just like you, we know what we are good at. We know what we want to do. There's no time for fear of unrealistic uncertainties.
Yeah. And mostly,
just do it.
And mostly it's in your mind, right?
Oh, 100% it's in your mind. Occasionally it'll come to fruition and it's true.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, whatever you expect is going to be a disaster generally is never, ever a disaster.
That's true. That's actually good advice because I think a lot of people, they tend to overthink. I think overthinking
Yeah.
it's something that I, based on my interaction with people around me, my community, my followers, they always think that they
Yeah.
always felt that they overthink of things.
Yeah.
So that actually stops them from moving forward or to achieve something in life, right? So I guess overthinking. Yeah.
Just understanding the solution of stopping overthinking is one thing.
Yep.
You know, I'm not perfect, neither are you, I'm sure.
Of course,
You know,
nobody
there
is.
are still things that I overthink, but it's a lot less than what it used to be because I know better now.
So maybe what you just said, I just wanted to ask, maybe was there a moment in time where you have that kind of mindset that the direction shifted completely? Maybe in terms of like
Okay.
your mindset.
I'm going to say it's going to be when you reach the age of 40.
Okay.
When you reach the age of 40, you start to realize that a lot of the things that you thought about in your 30s and your 20s
Yep.
really don't matter at all. Once you reach your 40s, you're certainly not perfect, and you never are in this journey of life. But once you reach your 40s, you kind of realize what needs to be focused on and what doesn't.
And what is it for you?
That needs to be focused on?
Correct.
Joy, spending time with the people that bring love and joy into my life, giving my all at work, having all of my kids and realizing they're all of my kids and giving them all of my support and all of my encouragement and all of my love to try and make them be the best they can be. That started in my mid 40s and I think will continue until the day I pass on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then in that sense, you mentioned about people in the 20s and 30s, right? What advice would you give them? Like if they're building something today or they're still thinking about what life's going to be for them, what advice would you give them?
Wow, no, it's not a tough one. It's an easy one for me, but a tough one for them.
Yep.
Somebody in their 20s or their 30s, you can give them advice until you're blue in the face. They're just not going to take it because they know best. And the thing is, they don't. Take the advice of people who are a little bit older, especially if the advice is coming from love and it's not coming from control.
Right.
What advice do I give them? I think I've said it. Don't sweat it, man. Don't worry so much about things that really don't care or don't matter.
Yeah.
You know, ask yourself, what do you like? What do you see for your own life? And work at doing that, but don't make it a big production. Just make little tiny efforts to do these things every day to be the best possible version of yourself. That's it.
Do you think they live in a different world today where, they have social media and there's a lot of peer pressure around them?
Dear God in heaven, thank God I wasn't born in the days of social media. Like, that's how hard it is.
Yeah.
I think kids are a lot more grown up in certain aspects, but a lot more immature in others. And when you've got that kind of combination, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. In so many ways, it's dangerous. I give them extra bonus points for just getting through it.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to do anything and put it on social media and just have people hate you for it, for something you love and something you think you've done really well.
Yep.
How does an 18-year-old or a 22-year-old or a 29-year-old or a 32-year-old mind cope with this kind of
Pressure.
death?
Yeah.
That's what I call it. And the ones that do and come through it, they're our future. What does the future have to hold? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whoever thought social media would be what it is? And now what's the future have to hold?
It's going to be a lot of changes, I guess. I think it's not just social media today with everything people talk about AI and those kind of things.
Yes.
Which is going to be a totally different topic altogether. But I
But
want to.
sorry, AI
Yeah.
is a very important part of our industry as well.
Hey, you want to briefly talk about how are you using AI as well?
How do you use it? You use AI for what AI is supposed to be used for,
Yeah.
as an enhancement. You're supposed to use it to make
Yep.
your core sense of what you do better.
Exactly.
Like AI, in a certain sense, I feel was just made for my industry. You know, it certainly, well, it actually comes up
I
with
think
the
it's made
ideas
for
as
all
well.
industries.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It
But
is.
I'm so glad mine too. But you can use AI in so many different ways. A lot of people just open ChatGPT and ask it to do everything for them. Sure, from time to time, we've all done that. I still think that human essence of creating an idea
Yeah.
is important. And then you just AI the hell out of it just to make it better and make it best.
Yeah.
That's what AI is. You know, you hear so many people talk about it, but really, I think that's what it is. It
Yeah.
just is a perfect enhancement.
Yeah, because you ultimately you still need to infuse the human element,
The gut,
yeah,
the grit, the idea,
the nuances,
the essence.
yeah.
Yes, all of that
All
needs
of
to
that,
still be
yeah.
put in. A lot of people argue AI can do that, and it can.
Yeah.
But what's the fun in that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Cool. Now I'm gonna understand a little bit more about yourself, right? Maybe there's one thing that you used to care a lot, but not anymore.
Okay.
Is there anything?
That I used to care
Yeah, care
about.
care about a lot, but not anymore today. Is there something?
That I used to care about a lot. I kind of care about everything that I care about, and it hasn't changed at all. But I care about it in maybe different degrees. But what don't I care about at all anymore? I really don't care about what people think. I know what I'm good at. I work hard. I give it my all. I bring in the right people to make it work. I don't care. I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I've
And
realized that.
and you shouldn't be. You shouldn't
No,
be.
but we all try.
Yeah.
We all hope. But I tell you, at the end of the day, you're not everybody's cup of tea, and you don't need to be everybody's
that's
cup
right.
of tea. A lot of people, and business, in my business, there is enough business out there for everybody.
Yeah.
You don't need to grab. You don't need to do it. That's another thing I've realized. Pick and choose carefully. Because if you're going to work on a project with a client for over a year, like we're G7 licensed company, we could construct a 40-story building, which I'm never going to do because I'm too old. But we build homes for people to enjoy their weekends with their families, homes for people to sell their goods, homes for, or, properties for people to run a business out of or restaurants out of.
Yeah.
These are really, really important things. But you don't need to grab it all.
Yeah.
It doesn't all need to come under the Blaine Robert umbrella. Pick and choose carefully.
Yeah.
Who likes you? Who do you like? Do all of the parameters fit? Are you able to come to a realistic expectation and be able to get them to understand what's truly important? And then have developed a strong enough relationship to be able to work through the problems together.
Yeah. And I like the part that you mentioned about you don't actually have to grab anything. And this is, to me, relates to having an abundance mindset.
Yes.
What do you feel about having that abundance mindset or lack mindset?
Meaning I have abundance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you believe in that concept of having abundance mindset?
Yeah, I do. I believe in everything that I want to have in my life. I can have in my life, and I've got absolutely no restrictions to stop it from having in my life if I want it. It might not be able to snap my fingers and have it immediately, but if I work towards it, I'm going to have it. I'm going to have it in my life. It's important to feel like that. It's important to understand that we're all connected somehow, whether it's spiritual or and we're all there to support each other and at the same time to argue with each other. But even the arguing aspect is a value that adds to the success.
Yeah.
You don't always have to, at least with me, I don't want people always to agree with me. I don't want them to agree with me. I want them to disagree with me or to challenge me.
So it gives you another perspectives of things.
Absolutely. And that's sometimes a little hard to do when you've got a younger team. You know, so I have to decide what's more important is to nurture and encourage my team to be better or get them to just listen to me because I'm always right. Because I know I'm not always right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Then how do you encourage your kids to speak up, for example?
I force them.
Force them?
I force them. I put them in situations where I'll tell them, don't make an idiot out of yourself. Because if you make an idiot out of yourself, you make an idiot out of me.
Yeah.
And one good thing about my kids or all of my team at the office, I really, truly believe that they never want to go out of their way to make me look bad.
Yeah, that's good.
Not to say that they don't have problems and problems don't occur and exist, because they do, but they all care. And that doesn't come from fear of me. It comes from, I think it comes from love.
Yeah, I think probably that's the most fundamental thing that we need
Yeah.
in a workplace, right? I think
Yes,
love
you need it in every place.
every place.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I do.
And speaking of which, how do you actually nurture that in your workplace?
How do I do it?
How do you nurture? Yes.
I don't care if it's the woman vacuuming the floor and cleaning the toilets, or if it's the one joining me to go close a $15 or a $20 million deal. Everybody gets treated with exactly the same respect from morning till night. Everybody gets treated with the same respect. I hate to say it, you know, like my maid at the office or my maid at home. This woman, she keeps my house clean.
Yeah.
She keeps my toilets fresh. She keeps my floors smelling nice. When I walk in the door on a Thursday and the whole house smells like bleach, I am as happy can be. This woman needs to be respected because she adds so much value to my life being better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's love.
It's love.
Yeah, it's love.
It is.
I think of course, she do it for, of course, it's her job, but at the same time, if she does it wholeheartedly, that's the result that you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Right.
I think a lot of people try to take little advantages from time to time, but my philosophy is nobody's perfect.
Right.
So let them just do the best they possibly can. And if that's good enough, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Blaine. Of course, I have a bunch of more questions to ask you, but we're going to talk about a bit of the work that you do, like in terms of designs, right? Maybe this is for people who's actually keen to be in the design space. Maybe one of the most underrated skill a designer needs, or maybe somebody who wants to start a design business. What do they need besides just the design skills?
Good. Well, I'll tell you what, interior designers, technical people, they're artists. I don't care what anybody says, they're artists.
They're artists, yes.
And artists are different people.
Yeah.
They come out of college or they come out of university with all of these grand ideas because they've got a lot of confidence in their skill and they think they can run a business. Well, I'm telling you right now, being an interior designer and running a business are two complete and utter different things. My advice to anyone, you work, and when I say work, I mean work. You work in a company for a minimum of 4 years, preferably 5, before you even consider going out on your own. But if you work in that company as a technical person sitting in front of a computer, only doing technical for 4 years, you're still not ready to run a company.
You're not going to learn anything.
No, you've got to feel what it feels like. Like even interns, you know, a lot of people think interns are great. You get to bring these people in and you pay them 500, 600, 700 ringgit a month. Wow, what a bargain. But they're so green and they're so fresh. So my philosophy about interns is we'll bring in some interns, but we're almost as careful about interviewing the interns as we are about the full-time staff. But even with the interns, I tell them, I'm throwing you deep in the fire.
Baptism by fire.
Yes. Like I want them to leave in 3 months or in 6 months knowing what they're getting into.
Yeah.
That's my job.
What are some things that you've done with the newcomers or the interns? How do you challenge them?
Oh, I throw them in the fire. I just, like from day one, they've got a responsibility that they've got to achieve. And then they're too nervous to ask for help. So it's my job to encourage them to start having more confidence in themselves, to build their skills in order to be better people and do their jobs better.
Yeah.
Oh, my job is never ending when it comes to that. But that's my job.
Yeah, it will be a daily struggles and sometimes a daily battle, right?
A daily struggle and a daily battle, but I like to look at it more on the positive side.
Yeah.
When I look at the design studio with all of those 50, 55, 60 people, and I look at them and their all heads are down and they're all working, I'm doing something right.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I know that if they're going to be with me for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, they're going to leave Blaine Robert Design because I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
They're not going to stay with you forever.
Yeah.
They're going to leave you, and when they leave you, they're going to add so much more value to someone else. Job done.
But I want to talk a bit, like as a business owner myself, sometimes we hired somebody and we nurtured them and they've grown to somebody who is doing so well. And then of course, there comes a time that that person is going to leave the company.
Yep.
Then I think I'm speaking on behalf of many business owners.
Yep.
How do we overcome that feeling and that kind of challenges, right?
How do you overcome it?
Yeah.
You have to really analyze the feeling when they leave. What is the feeling?
Yeah.
Is the feeling anger? Is the feeling worry? Is the feeling, I'm going to miss them so much? Is the feeling, oh my God, the business is going to struggle so much with them gone? There's a lot of feelings, but those feelings you need to overcome really quickly.
Yeah.
And then you've just got to sit back and watch them fly and move on in the journey of life and see them succeed.
Yeah.
And know, oh, I just got goosebumps, and know that you were a part of that.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Especially the ones that have stayed with you for 3 or 4 years, because they do add value to the business. They definitely add value to the business.
Yeah.
But you've just got to let them go and know that they're flying and moving forward. And then after about 3 months or 4 months, I will usually message them, WhatsApp them.
Yeah.
You just came to my mind. And then their reply back to me is just pure love.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I think I should do the same thing. Yeah. I'm going to do that today.
Well, good luck. You just said hiring, so I thought you were pulling this into a different situation. Hiring, wow. That's a tough one, isn't it?
It is. Always been tough.
You interview 10 people. 2 of them you think are good for the job.
Yeah.
You hire one, and you've got less than a 50-50 chance that that person's going to do a good job.
Exactly.
So you've just got, the trick I find, you just make it clear in the beginning. What are the expectations?
Yeah, right from the start.
These are the expectations. Do you feel you can live up to them? Because you will be evaluated on these set of expectations.
Yeah.
And you have to decide whether you feel they're realistic or not. If they're not, don't join us. But if you feel, yes, I can live up to those expectations, I'm going to give it 100%, I'm going to try, that was a good hire.
Okay.
Doesn't mean they were the best hire, but at least they came in knowing what you expect.
Yeah.
And they know what their capabilities are on whether they can achieve it or not. We've all made mistakes, but fewer and fewer mistakes now than before.
Lesser mistakes. Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking about mistake, is there a mistake that you did before that you felt it's actually a blessing in disguise?
A mistake. Oh boy, I'm sure yes.
Yeah.
I think we all have, haven't we?
I think.
Actually, if you want to know the truth, I think every mistake we've made in our life is pretty much really valuable to the overall learning experience of life. But can I think of an actual mistake that I made? Just recently, I missed a flight.
Mr. Flight.
I know. It said 1,300 hours. And for some reason in my head, I thought that meant 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Like, what the hell is that? You know, of course it's 1 o'clock. It's
Yeah.
not 3 o'clock. So just stupid things like that. And even that, you get to the airport and I could have been, oh my God, and stressed out. And what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I just laughed. Well, needless to say, I was flying business class. That helps.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just laughed. I just thought, I can't believe I made that stupid mistake.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other mistakes, but I don't know.
Maybe as you were growing up, as you started Blaine Robert Design.
Mistakes that I made.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. So many. There really are so many. But I don't think they've... Well, I tell you what, every mistake I've ever made has led me to where I am now, which is sitting right here talking to you as a successful person. Not the most successful person, but as a person who's achieving.
Yeah. Or I would call it, normally I would say it's a progress.
Yes.
It's a work, we're always a work in progress.
Yeah.
Right? I think for some people, they see it as success, but for me, I see life
progress.
is a work in progress.
You got that right.
Right?
And at my age, that progress is starting to come
Yeah.
to an end too. You know, I also want to start thinking about retiring,
What's next? Yeah.
but I tell you, design will always be a part of my retirement. I'll always have my nose in it. You know, I'll always have my fingers in it. I'll always touch it and smell it and taste it. Design is always, wow, it's a gift from God.
Yeah, it is. I think those, especially those people, as you said, artists, right? I think those
It's taking a blank, empty canvas that's got nothing on it except an idea that comes from somebody else.
correct.
And you just create magic. You create magic. That's what design is. You're creating such incredible magic from absolutely nothing at all on an empty canvas with very few instructions. Yeah, it's a
good.
blessed profession.
So I think I'm just going to wrap it up. I'm going to ask you a few more questions. Say, for example, if you were to meet yourself, the younger version of Blaine Robert,
The skinnier version.
the skinny version,
Okay.
the one that's probably still smoking,
Okay.
what would you say to him?
What would I say to him?
Yeah.
Oh, don't sweat it. Get over it. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Nothing's really as important as you thought it was. You know, you're a work in progress. You know you're fabulous. You know you're going to be fabulous. You do everything you need to do in order to be fabulous. So just hold tight for that journey, hold tight for that ride, and fly.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to the younger version of myself.
Yeah.
I think I've done most things right.
Any particular age that you want to meet the younger version of yourself and tell him that?
Oh, I never want to meet the younger version of myself. It'll be too stressful, I tell you. To be honest with you, when I see my staff every day, or my kids as I call them, I kind of look at them and I think of them as little versions of me.
Right.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
You know, not so much people in the technical division or in the project management division or even in the QS. The facts and figures I hate.
Yeah.
You hire people to do the things
Exactly.
you don't like,
True.
and
I
the things
totally
you
agree.
do like,
Yeah.
you
You do it.
focus on
Yeah.
those. So I think I talk to myself, in a sense, almost every day.
Every day. Wow.
You know, but I do it in my kids. I give them the advice that I would want somebody to give me at that age.
That's good. Now, for the audience, right? How do you hope people would take away from your journey so far?
How do I think people would take away from my journey?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that people would listen to me or they would see me, not just in this podcast, but see me on the streets or see me in a shopping mall or see me at a party or see me anywhere and think, wow, he is exactly the same in that podcast as he is in real life when I met him at the shopping mall.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, that's the key. Hey, this is what you get.
Yeah. I think what you just mentioned is about being authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, being authentic is very important
Yeah.
today. Yeah, okay. So, Blaine, we've heard so much of your stories. Actually, we can spend the whole day talking about this, but I think that actually gave a lot of the lessons for the audience to learn more about the interior design business, about life, about businesses, so many things. And I hope we can have this session again.
Well, I certainly hope so. You and I are close. You've always been good to me. I love your energy. I love all of that. And I wish you nothing but the success in the world. You deserve it. We all deserve to have a wonderful life, but you certainly do.
Likewise, Blaine.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for being part of the show.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Blaine Robert on Never Been Sold. So I hope his stories inspired you in some ways. So if you enjoyed this, please do share this podcast or tag a friend or tag us on social media. Again, this podcast is about real stories that don't always get shared, and you can help more people to hear these kind of stories. And with that, I'm Richard Kerr. Thanks for being part of the show, and we'll see you on the next one.